That's right. Good evening, everybody. It's Thursday night. I am Dave Stevens, and this is Dave Stevens Speaks. And of course, that music is apropos tonight because we have some amazing guests tonight, some history of baseball, just some amazing names. If you don't know who I am, well, I'm Dave Stevens, so hello on a Thursday night. Big shout out to everybody listening on WXRW 104.1 River West Radio, and of course, www.riverwestradio.com. You can listen on it. The Disability Channel. Big shout out to our fans. You can watch us on Facebook, Roku, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all these wonderful things. And tonight, I've got a couple of wonderful people that are my guests. Let's bring them in tonight. Now, we're going to talk about their lineage, but tonight we're mostly going to talk about them. Two of my buddies out there, and you know the names, and I'll show you because I can say we're friends. I've got Ryan Ripken, who, of course, is the son of Hall of Famer infielder Cal Ripken, and, of course, right next to me and next to you also out there is Josh Caray, who is the grandson of Harry Caray, legendary broadcaster, and, of course, Skip Caray. And, guys, thanks for joining me tonight on Dave Stevens Speaks. I'm so excited to have you guys. How are you guys holding up through all of this chaos? Josh?
I'm doing better than a lot of other people in minor league baseball. Still working. This would be our off season anyway, so we're still getting ready for 2021, trying to sell advertising, which is kind of a must in minor league baseball. And then on top of that, we're just doing off season events, getting ready for our Christmas festival, and doing other things, movie nights. We have a wine and beer fest coming up at the ballpark this weekend. So it's not just baseball; it's about the events as well. And so we're doing what we would typically do during a typical baseball off season.
And Ryan, you're supposed to be hitting a baseball and working your way up to the big leagues. So what have you been doing during this COVID struggle?
Yeah, just doing the most that I can, given the circumstance, right? There's a few different things, obviously, with protocols and everything with COVID. So when I get the opportunity to go work out and work on some strength things, I will. And while the weather's nice here in Maryland, get out in the field and just continue to work on my craft. So very thankful to still have that opportunity.
Well, you guys, I'm so thankful that you joined me tonight, and we're going to talk a bit about the history and everything. Obviously, the families, the names, it's great and legendary, but you guys have really kind of carved a niche for yourself. I mean, Josh, you've been in broadcasting now for quite a while. You started out at Stony Brook, you worked at Yale, and now you're with the Rocket City Trash Pandas. What the heck is a trash panda?
It's a raccoon, but trash panda is kind of a nickname for it, or a slang term. Raccoons, they like to hop in the trash and scavenge for any food they can find. It was a part of a Name the Team contest, and it's been quite a hit here in North Alabama. The merchandise and the logo, as you see right here, it sold about $3 million worth of merchandise, and we haven't even thrown a pitch. And that's shattered the record for minor league baseball sales for a first-year franchise. So we've done all right, and tell you what, it's really helped out now. And we've been very fortunate to have it, and I've landed in a great spot because I grew up in Atlanta. I'm only about 3 hours from home, and it's all worked out well.
And Ryan, everyone says, how's dad? But how's mom and how's the sister doing?
Hey, they're doing well. My sister works out in Colorado at the University of Colorado for the Buffs. Go Buffs! So things have been a little bit different for her. I think the Pac-12 is trying to come back, so that she's excited about that. She works in the athletic department, and my mom is in the area in the Baltimore area, so she's doing well. Just thankful through all these crazy times that everyone in the family, knocking on wood, is holding up all right.
Now, Josh, of course, we know, I'm just going to go ahead and let the fans know that your legendary grandpa, let's hear how he was when you guys, back in the day, my day of being a fan in sports. So that is just the iconic voice of Harry Caray. And Josh, when you were growing up with a grandpa that was just known around the world and a dad that was known, what is that where you found out you wanted to be in broadcasting?
No, it kind of took me a while. It was certainly fun. It was certainly interesting, but you know, being around my dad more so, again, growing up in Atlanta and being around him with the Braves, dad kind of allowed me to figure out my own way. And I think for a lot of younger people, it sort of takes, it might take some folks a little while longer to figure out what their path is. And for me, it wasn't until I was about in my mid 20s when I realized that I really wanted to go this full force. I mean, I love broadcasting and I love baseball and I love sports as a whole, but it wasn't really until I went after it my first year with the Rome Braves that I really fell in love with it. I dabbled in it with when I was in college and in high school, but I kind of wanted to carve my own niche. And, I did some things outside of broadcasting when I first got out of college. But again, when I got that first year with Rome and I got to ride the buses and I got to be around the team and the players, got to go to the different ballparks, that's when I really fell in love with it. And, the rest, as they say, is history.
And Ryan, for you, obviously, that name has been synonymous with, the Iron Man and, all those things you got to do, which your dad had to core his career when you were a little kid, but still growing up in baseball and just, being a part of some of the most amazing moments. In fact, I teased you. We were both together at 21-31. You were 2 years old and you didn't remember me. But, some of those memories of your dad, did that kind of inspire you to want to play? Or how did you figure out you wanted to be Ryan Ripken and not Cal's son?
Well, just like Josh was saying about how your parents can mold you about talking with his dad, and that was my thing, was just by example. My dad's job was playing baseball, and so growing up as a kid, when you're looking up to your parents, and I got to go to a ball field, and that was my dad's job, and I went, wow, that's a really cool job. I would love to be able to do that someday. So that's really where the idea and dream started. Now, obviously, the player and the accolades and what he did really wasn't understood to me until I got a little bit older. Just because in the moment you think that everyone does what he's doing. But to be honest, I wanted to follow my dad's footsteps, not because of him as the player, but just because I love that he get to go to a ball field and slide around in some dirt and hit a baseball and call that a job for a living.
And, I wondered when you started getting your successes in high school, I mean, was that last name almost like a curse in certain aspects because the expectations had to be so high, and yet you're this kid, you're not your dad, and you wanted to just kind of do your own thing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, growing up, it was definitely a learning curve for me. I didn't really handle the pressure of the name as well as I could have. And maybe if I didn't express it enough to the people around me, but it had an effect on me where I always felt like I had to live up to what he did. And at the end of the day, I'm really proud of what my dad did, but I really just want to be known for Ryan. I don't want to be known for anything that he did. Now, my dad, my uncle, my grandfather have all done some great things for the game of baseball, but I'm more proud of them as individuals. But now, no offense to them. That's great, guys. I'm going to continue on my path and just try to add on to whatever I can to their legacy.
I love what you're saying about that. And Josh, for you too, to live up to a name, and you've got to watch, Grandpa on Saturday Night Live being made fun of. I mean, as fun as it is, still sometimes for you, you constantly have, almost not an attack on the family, but still a different perception of what your grandpa was, and then this character that you saw with Will Ferrell. I mean, was that kind of weird growing up?
A little bit, but I've always seen it as imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. If they're making fun of you on Saturday Night Live, you're probably doing something right. And at the end of the day, Grandpa kind of created that for himself. I mean, he liked the caricature. He liked the attention that brought him, and that was part of the shtick. I mean, he was before he was a broadcaster, he was a salesman, and he knew how to sell himself. And as bizarre as it could be at times, it was those types of things that endeared him to the fans. And at the end of the day, it's the support of the fans that allowed him to have such a long running career. So all that stuff was actually a really good thing and a really positive thing. And what Will Ferrell did and what others did, mimicking him, it was done in jest, and it was done. It wasn't certainly a malicious or anything like that. So for me and my family, we always looked at it as something funny and not something meant to be hurtful or harmful.
And Ryan, for you, I wonder if you had the pressures early on, because you've had bumps and bruises along the way, and everybody says, "Oh, your dad's this Iron Man thing. Why is your body breaking down?" And I know you've gotten past all that mentally, but early on, I remember 2016, what a tough time that was, that period of time. It's like, how do you get past that so you can be Ryan Ripken and heal yourself the way your body is supposed to?
Right. And a few things, with how it's incredible still to how my dad did it, and I give him full credit for that. And he'll be one of the first to say that, he came to show up to work each day. So that was number one. And then number two was just being lucky enough that nothing, significant happened. And now you play through a lot of things, but there's certain things, there's so many things that are out of your control. And growing up for me, that was what I would do. I tried to emulate exactly what he did. Just unfortunately, I tore a ligament in my ankle. And so things were an uphill battle, and you had to take time to rest. And it's not ideal. That's hard. It's frustrating because when everyone looks at the game, they think of the iron, that nothing can break you. But the reality is that you can, and it can happen to anybody. And you can get the 95-mile-an-hour fastball right off the wrist, and if it breaks, you have to sit. And so all the times he got hit during that streak, that he didn't break a bone there, is pretty miraculous. But I just try not to let that affect it. Again, if I got hurt, when I did get hurt, my main focus was I'm going to work as hard as I can and get back as quick as I can. The work ethic doesn't change whether you're hurt or you're on the field.
Josh, for you, what's been your greatest broadcasting moment? And I don't mean, in Wrigley with your grandpa. Like, has there been something at Stony Brook or Yale or something where, you got to create your own niche, you get to create your own catchphrase, and that kind of one shining moment for you so far in your broadcasting career?
I think the thing I remember most was when I was at Stony Brook my first year. Stony Brook has a real good basketball program, and my first year there, they won their conference tournament to go to the NCAA tournament, where they played Kentucky. It did not end well. They lost by about 30. But I became the first member of my family to call an NCAA tournament basketball game. And I thought that was pretty cool because, for all the things that my family has accomplished, and they've accomplished a lot of great things, that was just one little feather I could kind of put in my cap. The Caray family has done a lot. My dad did the NFL in addition to Major League Baseball. He also did the NBA. My grandfather did college football. Chip's done the NBA. He's also done college football. But I was the one guy who got to call March Madness, and so I was pretty proud of that. And I still have the program from that game, and I still have the radio call from that game, and so that's something I'm very proud of.
Ryan, how about for you? And I've had the opportunity to see you. In fact, when I met you last summer, you were kind of having a slump, and I seem to remember after our meeting, your average started creeping way up there. But in all seriousness, what's your best pro memory for Ryan Ripken?
Well, Dave, I think you might have to come back around because you were right. Things started to pick up right after our little chat. Honestly, for a pro memory for me was getting through the adversity with the injuries, to be honest, because for the longest time I was injured and was spending time in the lower levels or wasn't even moving. I was staying down in Florida. I was staying in short season, and it was a struggle to keep moving because I couldn't stay healthy. And then I really started to doubt myself because I didn't play well when I came back from my injury the first year. So really, when I got the opportunity with the Orioles after the Nationals and sticking through it and getting to the point now of, hey, I proved to myself that this was not the way I wanted to get off, but I can play this game. I can play it and do things well. And to be honest, I had a lot of, I didn't have a lot of confidence in it. So I love the fact of getting through times when things were tough. Whether I make it to the big leagues or not, that's going to be a defining moment for me, just moving forward in my life in general.
Dude, I've watched you mature so much over the years and watch you evolve and grow, and it's neat to see now your perspective. Like, but you do still have those goals, and I'm sure you, Josh, have those same goals. You guys both would like to be at the big league level, hitting or talking. I mean, is that still a goal for both of you, Josh?
Yeah. I mean, I think you, like anyone else, you want to set goals, and ideally you want to set it at the highest level possible. But you also, as you get older, you start to understand and you start to appreciate where you are and what you're accomplishing. Like right here in Madison, we're doing some really remarkable things with this franchise, and just being close to home is really important too. Sure, I'd like to be at the major league level, but it doesn't define me like it may have about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, my life was all about getting to the major league level, whether that was baseball or the NBA or the NFL or a major college. Now it's just about being happy. And I think you have to take it on the chin a little bit to realize that. And so I'm very happy with where I am right now. And I'm interested to see what the future holds. And but right now, more than anything, I just wanted to see us get on the field.
And Ryan, drafted by the Orioles, then you went back to college, then you got drafted by the Nats. You played a little bit there, and now you're back in the Orioles organization. Is there a dream scenario for you to step up to the big leagues and that kind of thing, or is it just you're so focused just on what the near future is?
Well, the goal when you play and you're growing up, and even now, my goal is to, be in the big leagues and playing. That's one of the reasons as a kid you grow up and you want to do. And I loved what Josh touched on about, in some ways you're putting so much your eggs in one basket and so much pressure on yourself where things become unhappy. And you feel like if you don't reach that certain goal, it defines you. Right. But there's so many more things to your overall happiness and your overall success as an individual, not by the standards of what other people are. Now, as from a player's perspective, I mean, I would love to. I mean, that's the goal. If I could be in Baltimore next year or the year after and play, would be a dream, especially being from the area would be awesome. But regardless, and I was probably the same way with Josh, when I was younger, if I didn't make it, that would eat me up a lot more. Now, it would bother me to some content, but there's so many more things and so many more scenarios where you can just enjoy your life and be proud of what you're doing. And I think with Josh and myself, I think we're proud of the process and the way that we're going about our life.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. Dave Stevens here on Dave Stevens Speaks. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are also live tonight on LinkedIn for the very first time. You can watch this show every Thursday night, 7:30, 6:30 Central on the Disability Channel and riverwestradio.com. So again, thank you guys for being a part of tonight. We got a few minutes more left on this part. But I wanted to bring up Ryan, it is known your dad had a little bit of a health scare recently. We don't have to touch on it, but how is Dad doing?
I appreciate it. He's doing really well. And, this happened back in February, I believe. So he kept it quiet for a long time. And I'm really proud of him for coming out and speaking about it, because the biggest goal was just to bring attention so other people, if they're in a similar situation, feel the urge to go get testing themselves, to be proactive in situations if you think something might be wrong. So he's doing great. And I'm just really proud that he wanted to advocate and try to spread the word to try to just bring more awareness to people.
Now, Josh, you have been part of this lineage of seeing so many things. You've also lived to see the Cubs win a World Series, so Grandpa will be upstairs pretty happy with that. But what is maybe, besides a legless dude hitting a baseball and catching a ball like me, what is the most unique thing you think you've ever seen in baseball, minors or majors?
Oh wow. I mean, I would have to say watching the Atlanta Braves win 14 consecutive division titles. I mean, that's I know they probably should have won a few more world titles. They only won one of them, but just to when you think about playing 162 games every year for 14 seasons, and I say 14, it was actually 13. I'm excluding 1994, but to play 162 games every year and to play well enough to be the best team in your own division, I think that is still one of the more remarkable achievements in professional sports. It gets overlooked all the time, and I understand why. But just to grow up around that, be a part of that, and then just watching some of the athletes who are a part of that. Greg Maddux, and who was at the top of his game during this era. Tom Glavine, back to 300 game winners who would go on to the Hall of Fame. John Smoltz, who was a part of that, he's also in the Hall of Fame. Some of the great everyday players who are a part of that. Fred McGriff, who should be in the Hall of Fame. Javier Lopez, Chipper Jones, who came on, a few years into that. David Justice, who, isn't in the Hall of Fame, but was a guy who saw the playoffs almost every year of his career. When you look back on that great achievement that organization had and some of the great athletes who came through there, I think just when you combine that all together, that's what makes it such a remarkable achievement, is seeing all of that come together at once and being able to be around that.
And Ryan, instead of collecting baseball cards, you were hanging out at all-star games with Ken Griffey Jr. and all these guys. And again, I know you were little, but you still got a taste of that with your dad at the end. I mean, is there some memory that really pops out in your mind? I know we talked about one at Fenway with you and your dad.
Yeah, the one in Fenway was a great one. For those that don't know, my dad in his last year, I was, I think 7 or 8 years old, and on his last trip to Boston, we went out to the Green Monster before batting practice and everything, and he put me close enough to the Green Monster to try to hit a home run over it when I was 7 or 8 years old, and for the longest time, I could not do it, and then I finally got one over, and I think there's a photo somewhere of my dad celebrating and me celebrating. So that was up there. That was a really cool moment, and I also have another one, Dave, at the old Yankee Stadium where I was rounding the bases before a game, and I tried to emulate trying to have an inside the park home run, and my dad's the catcher. And so I slid in, and he had the ball in his glove because he couldn't let me be safe. And I still to this day say I'm safe. And there's a picture somewhere, I got to find it, where I'm not going to admit it, but it doesn't look good for my argument. But so that was pretty cool, especially now, to look back on those with him and as in my childhood.
Well, I still am in awe of some of the memories that we all find, the special moments that aren't that walk-off home run or that thing, those very intimate moments. Josh, do you have one with your dad or your grandpa that you would mind sharing as far as special moments that we don't know about as far as on air?
Well, one for me with my dad was my first year in Rome, which was 2007. Dad got to come up and do a game with me. I remember the Rome Braves were playing the Savannah Sand Gnats, Mets affiliate. And Dad was, I was 25 at the time, and Dad was getting real sick. And, he would die a year later. I didn't realize, I look back and I realize how dumb I was, but I didn't realize just how sick he was getting. And, but he came up there. He was able to take a game off from Atlanta. And we got to hang out and do a South Atlantic League baseball game. And I had a really sore throat. and he came into the booth, and he could tell I was struggling. I didn't have a broadcast partner. I was doing the game solo. And he came in there, and he could tell I was struggling, and he pinch hit for me. He did 4 innings of a South Atlantic League baseball game to give me a little relief. I mean, Chip Caray, who should be in the Hall of Fame, is doing South Atlantic League baseball after having done 30-plus years of Major League Baseball to help out his son. I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow.
And
is there tape of that anywhere? Do we have a tape?
That's awesome.
You have MLB now, but oh, man.
Yeah, but that was pretty cool. And what was really cool about it is, he didn't know any of the players because these were all guys, most of whom, would never get close to the majors. But, I gave him my scorebook. He saw the names. He rattled them off like it was nothing. And, he called it like it was no big deal. But that's just the type of pro he was.
And Ryan, for you, you had a famous uncle that was a baseball player, not too bad, and a grandpa that was also a legendary name. I mean, baseball's been in your blood. Did you know at an early age that Ripken name was pretty special?
Again, I think it's all these things as you get older where you find out how many people, appreciate what your family's accomplished. So, because all I looked at was like, oh, that's Uncle Bill, or that's Pop, or that's my dad. Like, why? Like, you guys are being very complimentary of them, and that's great. But why do you guys like them so much? And as I got older, you hear the stories and the work ethic, the stories, and then just being personable, people. I think that's I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them. But I think just with everyone and with your family, I just looked at it as as I got older, I just wanted to be someone that my family could just be proud of, just as an individual. And I feel like the job of that. So I try to continue the trend.
And it's those eyes are a giveaway, right, Josh? You can instantly tell. It's those Ripken eyes, man. You probably can't go anywhere anymore, right?
Yeah,
no,
I'll tell you
could tell, boy. When you look at him, I thought they were going to shoot through the screen and knock me over. Boy.
I'll tell you what,
you can see those from a mile away.
My sister's eyes are way bluer than mine. It's almost and people say my dad and I it's very identical, but my sister way brighter blue than me. So I'd be curious what you guys think if you saw her eyes.
Well, at least you didn't get like a Pete Rose face or something like. Can you imagine, going with that kind of a mug throughout life like that? So good genes with both your mom and your dad. It kind of did. And Josh, you didn't get the Harry Caray grandfather look. You've got a good look too. So I think you don't have that face for radio. So it's been good to see you doing your thing. This is Dave Stevens. We got about a minute left here on WXRW 104.1 River West Radio. Of course, I am Dave Stevens tonight. It's been awesome to have Josh Caray and Ryan Ripken be my guests. And again, don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our show is about overcoming adversity and people that have overcome some amazing things. And it's great to have my guests tonight who have been Ryan Ripken and Josh Caray. And we're going to continue over on the other side as we wrap up, guys, for this portion of what we've been doing. Josh, what have you been doing to stay active as far as calling sports and games and stuff like that? Have you been watching marble rolling or anything like that on TV?
No, I'm pretty lucky. I'm doing some high school football here in Alabama, which is actually a pretty big deal in these parts. And I actually do some side work with the Crimson Tide. I do a lot of women's soccer and volleyball and things like that for some of their digital networks. So I'm staying busy, I'm staying active, and I'm keeping the vocal cords warm until next spring.
All right. And, of course, Ryan, you've been in some batting cages, and hopefully you're going to stay in shape and get ready to hopefully get to AAA or AA next year. So thanks again, everybody that have been watching. We're going to stay over, so continue to follow us and watch us on every platforms that we got going. But this is Dave Stevens. You've been watching Dave Stevens Speaks. Thanks again to River West Radio 104.1, the Disability Channel, and, of course, all of our fans out there that continue to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all of these wonderful things. So we'll see you next week. 2 weeks, we got Drew Bledsoe coming up. I just confirmed Drew Bledsoe going to join us, so you'll want to watch that one. All righty, let's bring everybody back in while we got the baseball theme. I can dance a little bit for you guys. Yeah. All right.
Good moves.
Hour 2 of hour 1, continuing with Josh Caray and my friends here from the Ripken family. We've got Ryan here. And again, I appreciate you guys. You don't have to do this, but I appreciate you guys spending some time with us. And as I was doing my research again, I watched Cal's game, 21-31, a magical night. You know, Chris Berman, one of the best broadcasters ever, to just, when he lets that breathe, it's one of those things where I teared up. And for Josh today, I want to show you something that I found. And it was just one of those things you kind of forget. We talk about great baseball moments, but when you talk about your family, these moments don't get better than this.
Again, everybody, along with Chip Caray, Skip Caray, welcoming you to another night of Braves baseball, first place Braves baseball from Wrigley Field. That makes it a special night, but for us it's a special night for another reason. You know who this fella is, my dad, his grandfather. This is something, huh?
It really is. I've done a lot of ball games. It's been a thrilling life being involved in baseball for 47 years, but everything's relegated to the background. This is really the supreme thrill to know that I'm working with 3 generations, my son and my grandson, all at the same time doing a major league game. I don't know, this has got to be, if the good Lord said this is your last moment alive, I'd be happy to go.
We don't want that to happen. Chip, who are the pitchers for tonight's game?
Well, the Braves will send Tom Glavine, the big left-hander. He'll face Sean Bosky of the Cubs, and we'll have the starting lineups and more after this.
That's all.
Yep. Sorry.
Oh, now I hear you.
I'm just wondering, when you see something like that, the memories it brings back for you.
Well, I was 9, so I probably didn't really know what was going on. But in all honesty, I know that was a very special moment for all 3 of them. It's a little sad just because, Grandpa, Dad and Grandpa, unfortunately, Grandpa divorced Dad's mom, and so they really weren't close until later in life. And then Dad divorced Chip's mom, and so they weren't really close until later in life either. But the good news is the art of broadcasting kind of brought them all together, which was kind of cool. And so here they were as professional men working together, and that's what kind of brought them together. And so what I remember growing up with is being around all 3 of them because of the great sport of broadcast, or the great art of broadcasting in the sport of baseball. And so that's what the tie that kind of brought us all together and allowed us to get closer as a family. And so I know that was a very special moment for all 3, and now I get to carry it on in my own way.
I think that's so awesome. And for you, Ryan, I wonder, has your dad's kind of followed you? Have you had a couple of games that he's been at where you kind of feel like, more than the high school moment, it's kind of like, I want to make my dad proud because I'm Ryan Ripken out there hitting the ball?
Yeah, I think in general, you always want to have, especially in the bigger moments, you want to be able to experience that, or especially with your family there. For me, I guess it's now the year before, when I was with Bowie and we're in the playoffs, and we're down 1, and Greg Holland comes in the game for Harrisburg, and I was just praying he wouldn't throw me a splitter, and he didn't, and I luckily had a good swing on it and hit it out of the park. But my dad got to be there for that, and to talk to him about that, and to be there, and how he even talks about the at-bats, because we talk about a lot of the at-bats in those situations. But even for me, I could tell in that moment of all the things that he accomplished, he was really proud of to be there for something in a moment for me that was it was the highest moment of baseball that I'd had so far. Yeah. So
I know you and I talk about it a lot off the air in a way, is like, I'll send you clips of my kids, or, it just, proud moment that, that
Right.
you can live vicariously. And I know how much your dad loves the game and loves your family, and your mother loves you, but they get to watch, this son of theirs doing his own thing. And it's got to be such a really proud moment for the whole Ripken family to see you continue, knowing how far you've come since 2014, 2015 to this moment now, where now you're teammates with another former major leaguer, with Palmeiro's son. And now you guys are, every day, chasing each other for playing time and stuff like that. And that's also got to be a challenge for you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this business with baseball, it's hard, right? Because a lot of the guys, you're not only, you're competing against these guys, but also you spend a lot of time with them. And a lot of these guys are really great guys, and Preston's a really great guy. And, there was never any animosity towards either one of us. Obviously, we both want to play, but you're also supportive of each other, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to play and go out there. But that's just the nature of sports and a lot of things with jobs. It just decisions have to be made, and you got to live with it. But like I said, a lot of great guys, and that's just a part of the business.
Well, and screw battling 21-31. I mean, you want 2 games in a row. That's the thing that you're dealing with at this level. You want that second game in a row, that third game in a row. You want to move up higher in the lineup and those kind of things. And I know you've also had to make adjustments up there at the plate.
Right. And I think every player would agree, the more that you play and the better chance you have of getting in rhythm. And that's what everyone needs, especially as a hitter. You want to feel that rhythm. You want to feel that, you play 1 game, you play 2, you play 3, you play 4 in a row, and maybe you have a week going and 1 or 2 of those games isn't good, but you were building something. You feel good. And you just let it ride. You let it ride for as long through the bad. So actually, again, Dave, maybe we just need to speak more often. You got to come sit on the bench. But after that, I got on a roll. I played, I think I played like 14 of the next 16 games and really started to feel good. And we'll chalk it up as your words of wisdom.
Thanks. Hey, I had the same effect in when we were up there with our Disability Dream and Do camps up with Josh, and we watched you guys make the playoffs unprecedentedly up there. So now, Josh, I wanted to ask you, with your, trying to work in this business, and was there ever a time you said, man, I'm not going to use my name to get my foot in the door, but the successes just aren't coming, on my merits right now. Was there ever really a low point for you?
Probably the lowest point for me was it was right, but I was in sports, and then I got out of sports, was in news for about 3 years. And when I was in news, I was working a television job in a small city called Victoria, Texas. And it was bad. I mean, it was a really bad experience. And I would say that was probably my lowest point because not because it was necessarily a bad job. It was just a bad place to work. And so for me, that's where it really got difficult. Fortunately, I was able to get on with Stony Brook. Here, other way. So I was able to get on with Stony Brook, and I didn't use my name. I actually had a contact over there who was able to help me. But then getting on with the Trash Pandas, I did use the name a little bit that time. Fortunately, the CEO and president of our ball club worked with the San Francisco Giants and Arizona Diamondbacks, Ralph Nelson, as an assistant GM. So he knew Dad, he knew Grandpa. And so there was a connection there through that. And I was willing to, I don't like to use the name, but I will if I have to, just because it was important for me to get back home, get back to the South. And, my mom lives in Atlanta, and so getting close to her was important. And so, I don't like to use it, but I will if I need to. And in a situation like that, I felt it was necessary.
Hey, I use the no leg thing so I can take batting practice and shag balls with you guys at 54 years old. So, but in all seriousness, Ryan, I know we've discussed this, the mental things. I mean, do you remember the lowest point for you? I mean, you've made such a great comeback as a human being, but do you remember the lowest point for you?
I think, I had a couple moments where one was in high school, and that was the first one where when things start to change a little bit and things don't go as right, and maybe there's more of a reality of how the world is, and part of that was expectations and pressures. That was like the first wave, and then I got over that. So then you're feeling okay, you're fine, and then I got in the pro ball, and then all the injuries. Then there was some personal things going on in my family that were very challenging, and that was very hard to focus. So while you're injured, you feel like there's a lot of things going on off the field, and so it's probably right around again that 2016 time. Things got really hard. Things were really challenging, and in some cases you feel helpless, and you don't know what the next move is going to be. Fortunately, I had some good people around me to help, but just trying to put one foot in front of the other, and that's what there's no. And I know Josh can attest to. There's no better feeling of getting out of a situation, getting through a tough time. I think all of us can agree, actually, getting through a tough time and realizing, being thankful you're out of it, and then being proud of how you got there. And I think for a lot of people, and especially for me, I think that was the thing where I got, and then it helped me even grow way more than I thought I would. So as bad as it was, I'm thankful for it.
And Josh, I want to know from you, doesn't have to be a family member, but who are the mentors? Who are the people that really influenced you so much of your life? Because you had a magical life as well.
Well, yeah, obviously, Grandpa and Dad, but I would say that when it comes to broadcasting, and it's amazing in my travels, I would say Gary Cohen of the New York Mets. Living in New York, living on Long Island for 4 years, getting to listen to him call Mets games the last few years, I really have a tremendous amount of respect for his work. Both him and Howie Rose, who's the radio voice for the Mets. I have a tremendous amount of respect for both of those guys. Pat Hughes, the radio voice for the Chicago Cubs, he's fantastic. So I've come to really appreciate what they do and the amount of work they've done. And obviously, when it comes to closer to home, Pete Van Wieren, my dad's longtime sidekick, Ernie Johnson Sr., the two of them were probably my dad's closest, not just coworkers, but closest friends in the industry. And so those were probably my some of the biggest influences in my career outside the family.
Ryan, how about for you? I know, you're close with your mom, you're close with your sister, but as far as mentors or the person to be there, like, is there someone you still continue to lean on, or somebody that got you through a lot of those tough times?
Well, in professional baseball, when I came to the Orioles, Tim Raines Jr. was definitely one of the turning points for me. I didn't really know him beforehand, and his personality, his knowledge, and this wasn't just even from a baseball standpoint, but so at this point I just got let go by the Nationals and got picked up, and then he was slated to be working with me, and it was probably the worst I ever felt as a hitter, but he made me feel the best I had felt mentally, and I was able to figure out that my mind is more powerful than my body, and if you don't have your mind, you can't play. So I still keep in contact with him, so, and as far as just on every day, I still, both my parents, I talk to them a lot. I mean, my older sister, Rachel, has always been someone I've looked up to. I talk to her weekly. So, very thankful just to have those people in my life.
Cool. Well, other than the Rays, I'm not going to ask for any predictions, but I did want to get your thoughts on this season. Josh, you first. Did it feel like a real season to you? Is this a real World Series when they win this? Or to me, it felt kind of like a U.S. World Baseball Classic or a big PlayStation tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think the regular season certainly feel that way, but the playoffs, I think the playoffs have been great so far. I mean, you've added an extra round of playoffs. Anything could have happened in the first round. Whenever you have a best of three, it's really up for grabs. And so I think the World Series counts just the same. It was a level playing field at the beginning of the season. It was crazy, but I got to give Major League Baseball credit. I highly questioned what they were doing at the beginning of the season, but they found a way to get it done. And you know what? They've set the standard for how other sports leagues are going to do this going forward until we get a vaccine. So, you know what? It was strange. It was weird. They got to experiment a lot of different things, but it goes down to the record books. I say good for them. They got it done. And yeah, it counts as a World Series because everyone was on the same playing field.
What was it like to watch for you?
To watch, it was odd, but you know what? It was interesting, and I wish I could have been behind the microphone, but it was still Major League Baseball. The pitching was a little sloppy, but I sort of expected that because the arms just didn't have a chance to stretch out.
How about you, Ryan? Did it seem real to you? And I know you were staying in shape in case you got that magical call up or something, but did it seem like a real season?
Well, in all the cases, nothing feels kind of real during this time, especially when it happened, right? But I think the legitimacy of it is 100% just because, everyone, like Josh was saying, everyone's going through this. And the fact of what a lot of these players and coaches and staff members, trying to worry about their families, trying to worry about themselves and then go out and play. There's a lot of other factors that went into this year. And that takes a lot to get through. It's not a normal baseball season by any means, but the hard work, the determination, what you have to put into it is all there. And Josh is right. I mean, the playoffs have been awesome. They've been really exciting, and it's been really cool to see teams like the Rays and the Braves, who, even though the Braves have had a little bit more success overall, but these are two teams that are trying to be on the brink of the World Series. And maybe that's not exactly what Major League Baseball wants to see market-wise, but isn't that the cool thing to see some of these teams you didn't expect to 100%, if they get to the World Series, deserve to be in it?
Exactly. Well, as we wrap up, I want to thank you guys. Hopefully, Josh, do you think a year from now you're going to be in Arizona at spring training watching Mike Trout and getting your notes ready for the season, or do you think we're going to kind of go through a bubble thing?
I don't know if we'll go through a bubble thing. I don't think I'll be in Arizona just because, frankly, we have a lot of work to get done until we get the season underway. That's one. But two, I think there's still going to be too many questions in terms of vaccine and how many people do they want in there and how many do they not want in there and things like that. So they don't need the Angels AA broadcaster to be hanging around to complicate things. So I don't think I'll be in Arizona, but I do think that I'll be calling some minor league baseball next season. So that's a step in the right direction.
And Ryan, any inkling what they've given you guys ideas for your future?
I think it's a lot of unknowns. It was a great positive to see what MLB has been able to get through for this season, and now that they're having some fans. As far as how spring training is going to go, I think it's going to be different than it has been in years. How the layout of it's going to be, I don't know, just because every major league organization and their minor league affiliates, that's hundreds of individuals you have to have in an area. And I know in the minor leagues, everyone, we have 150, 200 players, staff members, all in an area. So, how you navigate around that's going to be the challenge. So it's going to be a wait and see. But just like Josh, we're just hoping and praying the green light happens come February and we can get rocking and roll for a 2021 season.
And maybe the one positive thing is schmucks like me in the media aren't bothering you for interviews every day at the ballpark and going, what are you doing and why are you playing? And, I'm sure a lot of these major leaguers, we are not allowed in the locker rooms and they're not controversial. It's been kind of probably a breath of fresh air for the players as well to not be under the scrutiny of the media. Yeah,
I think in some cases, a lot of guys, for the ones that want to be left alone more, but I'll say I bet the whole concept of the interviews, to no fans, to everything that felt normal, doesn't feel right to them. And maybe it took a long time to get used to the new norm. But I'll tell you what, personally, I'd welcome all of that back, just because it all comes with it, and it feels like baseball again. It feels like everything's back, and I miss all of that. I miss the ups, the downs. the stresses, the whatever you want to call them. I miss that it's the whole component. That's what makes it the whole experience great.
Well, Josh, if he's missing me doing interviews, man, he really is missing baseball. And I'm sure you're missing Josh being at the ballpark and learning and picking the brains and seeing guys that are, one step away from the major leagues.
Oh, I just miss being around the atmosphere and talking to the guys and getting to know them. And, I'm one of those guys who loves going on the road. I don't mind the road trips and seeing the different ballparks and staying in the hotels and things like that. So yeah, I miss everything about baseball right now. So this past year, I frankly did a lot of sitting around and trying to put on non-baseball events, and that's not me. But we did what we had to do, and now I'm just ready to get back to baseball, and the countdown is on. So fingers crossed, and more importantly, hopefully we get something out there that can save some lives.
Well, thank you, Josh, for joining me. And Ryan, you're actually doing some investment learning and interning and stuff too as well?
Yeah, just trying to, during the off season, just try to learn a little bit more just about things in the business world. Baseball is still the priority in the training. But while I had a little bit more free time, just trying to learn a little bit more about other things than just baseball. But I will say, like Josh, I just flat out do miss baseball.
Yeah, and we miss you guys listening to you and watching you play. Any final thoughts, Josh? Shout outs to anybody or anything you want to leave the fans with?
Not just hang in there, fans. Minor league baseball is coming back. Still a lot that needs to be sorted out with the new PBA. Obviously, Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball are going to be merging. So they still got to figure that out. And once they do, we'll have schedules rolling out. And there'll be a lot of changes. Should be interesting, but I think it'll be good for Minor League Baseball in the long run. And
Ryan, are we getting any closer to another little Ripken in my lifetime that might be, and I'm just joking. I'm not going to put any pressure on you.
Come on, Dave. Not yet. Down the road, I got to focus on one at a time, and that's me.
And speaking of that, any shout outs or parting shots to words of wisdom from you? Because we don't get to hear from you much, so I appreciate it.
No. I mean, I think just in general with everyone, what's going on, it's a strange time, and everyone's had to adapt one way or another, really. And I just hope everyone knows that a lot of people are in similar situations, and whether people don't show it or not, we're going through a lot. These are some adverse times for a lot. Just try to stay positive, put one foot in front of the other, and you'll be proud of yourself to get through it. Eventually, we'll have better days as a whole and as a country and as a world. So that day's coming. Stay with it.
Now, what if I can't put one foot in front of the other?
Fair enough.
On that note, thank you, Josh Caray. Thank you, Ryan Ripken. It's so great to see my buddies. I miss you guys. I can't wait to be at a ballpark and see, the history that we've seen with the Caray family and the Ripken family, but of course, the history that I have with you guys as friends. So thank you guys very much. We'll see you guys hopefully in a ballpark real soon. So this is Dave Stevens saying good night. Thank you guys, everybody, for your support on the Dave Stevens Speaks show on the Disability Channel, River West Radio, all the Facebook pages, and of course, you can catch me every week, Thursday night, right here. So until next time, next week, America, we love you. Thank you for your support. Go out and do something big tomorrow.